This is another episode of UFO Garage.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Joe. And this is where we talk about UFOs, aliens, and all things weird. Yeah, dude. So it's going to be a pretty good episode today.
It's going to be a scorcher, dude.
Yeah.
It's hot.
We've got Mr. Terry Lovelace coming on with us today. And that's going to be exciting. I'm pretty excited to hear those stories, man. I mean, it's been one of my favorite stories so far.
Yeah.
Like really just kind of looking into this stuff. I mean, you definitely have the classics, but out of the new stuff that's kind of come out lately, Terry Lovelace, his story is pretty awesome.
Dude, it's my new favorite story. There's so much to it. And, like, we didn't even go through the whole thing.
Right, right.
I don't know if we're talking about, like, before we started.
Yeah.
Whatever. We already recorded it. We're doing the intro afterwards, so.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. And we also had a little fun earlier today, too.
Yeah, we did.
We did a wife episode. with our wives. So that'll be coming out too. So you guys stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, man. But what have we got on the Facebook for today, man?
Yeah, dude. If you guys want to join the group, look on Facebook for UFO Garage Podcast Group and join the conversation. Everybody's talking about their experiences or posting funny stuff or FBI drones that look like insects, things like that.
Everybody's doing it.
Yeah, everybody's doing it. Just come on.
All the cool kids are here.
Come on, Baba. Baba, come on. Yes. All right, so the first post, Joseph, the CIA had insect drones in the 1970s. So what do they have today? And it looks like this little, it looks like a dragonfly. Looks pretty sick. And then in the 70s, they had these things. That small. Retro reflectors, tiny glass beads that reflect laser light back at its source.
Jesus.
The CIA was able to analyze the beam vibration in glass and recreate the vibrations that disturbed it, basically extracting sound from light. Whoa, dude. That's cool. Yeah, so what do they have now?
Nanobots.
Yeah,
dude.
We need to make that movie.
We do. That's how they do it, man. They used to have bugs, now they have nanobots.
Yeah,
and they put the nanobots in our medicine and they spray it, the particulates in the air,
right.
And then we ingest them, and then they know everything about us through the nanobots that we have ingested unknowingly and without consent.
Right. And pretty soon we're gonna get ads being like, "Hey,
in our brains.
Have you had bad gas lately? Try this product." That's pretty much what's gonna happen.
Yep, it's gonna link to your Google account.
Yeah. Nanobots. It may have some kind of connection to the coronavirus. Who knows? I don't know, man. Viruses. Am I right? Also, antibacterial soap kills bacteria and not viruses. So if you're just washing your hands with Purell, that's not enough. You should just wash your hands.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not.
Okay.
It kills like a lot of the good bacteria as well.
Right.
Which is kind of like, maybe
anti-productive.
Maybe people have been washing their hands too much, and that's why we're in this predicament we are in the first place.
Maybe that's what it is. So stop washing your hands.
That's right. That's right. It's like a George Carlin skit where he talks about like washing his hands, and he's like, when I wash my hands, when I shit on them.
Only then.
Yeah. He's like maybe a little more frequently during holidays, but other than that, he's like, why are people washing their hands all the time? It's so funny.
God. That's awesome.
Man.
Dan Carlin. He's a good guy.
George Carlin.
Dan
Carlin is a historian.
Yeah, he's the hardcore history guy.
Yeah, he's the hardcore history guy.
Okay.
I almost said Dan Carlin, too, a second ago. If you haven't checked out Dan Carlin, check out Dan Carlin.
Yes.
Because his stuff is awesome.
The Mongolian series about the steppe people.
Nuts.
Holy shit. And Genghis Khan, Genghis Khan, as he pronounced it. But, yeah, great stuff. Okay, what's the next post? Dakota. We need to interview Dakota ASAP. Because it looks like we have some illustrations of her experience. Dakota has been abducted. She has lots of notes, it looks like, and some cool illustrations. I want to know more, man.
I want to know more as well. Looks like she had a breakthrough from the last time we talked about her, and looks like she has a little more notes.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Got to get her on the podcast.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
awesome. Looks like this illustration says examination table on their UFO ship. Interessante. All right, what's next? Oh, okay. The next post is it's a photo of the Internet Explorer logo in a airplane passenger seat, and it says, "On my way to Raid Area 51, guys." It's so good. Good post, William. That was great. That's the next post. This makeup artist Joseph posted
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I haven't seen this one.
She starts out with a blank stomach.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Just from observation, she needs to find a new bra because you can see the red marks under her boobs, and that's not safe for you ladies.
Your boobs or your bra's too tight.
That's right, and honestly, apparently science has shown that not wearing a bra is actually healthier for you.
So burn your bra, ladies.
Burn them. Yeah. We're total feminists.
That's us.
That's us, dude.
We're feminists. Through and through.
I don't even think I don't think we can claim that because
No,
I don't know
I mean, that
if
was
we
a joke.
really even know anything about feminism.
I don't.
But be nice, right?
Yeah, just be a good human.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But in her case, maybe get a new one.
Yeah, that's a cool little guy. I like that. A little alien. That's cool. How do I get back? Here we go. All right, what's next? Oh, lizard people might be wrong. Snake people more like it. Yeah, did you watch this one?
I caught it just a little bit.
That dude smells his own farts for sure, right? Look at this guy.
Dude.
Many people ask me weird questions, and one of them is, Alex, do you have bones?
Oh, I thought that said
I
boner.
often say, yes, I do have bones, but before I go to work, I leave them at home.
This is Alexi Gilabor.
Oh, that guy's a comedian.
That was pretty good.
The hardest part is to maintain.
What the hell?
Contortionist movement.
Ah!
Strikes his last pose.
Oh my god.
His legs, chest on the floor.
Dude!
What?
The audience erupts.
Bro. That's too much. That's too much flex.
Dude.
He's flexing on us,
I don't
man.
even understand.
Nah, I don't like it. Snake people. All right, what's the next post? Stephen Greenstreet on Twitter. Did you look at into this one?
I haven't seen that one yet. No.
This one? Let's see. Clicky click. Hey, we got to get on Twitter, man. I don't know how to do Twitter, but we have to get on Twitter.
Yeah, I know. Me either. I don't know how to do Twitter either.
Yeah, I don't know how to twat.
Is this
What are we looking at? Stereo A NASA camera, which films the sun, captured a circular UFO right side of the screen. The unidentified object appears to shoot or eject something. Left side. Okay. Left side is Mercury and Venus. Official explanations is a high voltage anomaly.
Whoa.
I'm still unsure what I'm looking at here.
I think this thing right here is the UFO. You see how all the energy is going around it, but there's nothing behind it.
Oh.
And then it kind of shot something out of the front of it a second ago.
What's all the wind / water that looks like it's coming?
It's the sun radiation
Oh, got it.
coming off the sun.
Oh, damn. Well, that's crazy. So it looks like a big Tic Tac, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Damn.
I thought it was sperm and an egg.
Ta! Sex. Hell yeah. That T-shirt from Sunny, nice. All right, so let's see what's the next post here. Latest UFO sighting: UFO chases jet.
I think we did this one on the last.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, believe so.
Okay. Skip. I've seen this floating around. So let's see. Yeah, Joseph posted Coincidence? Probably. And it's book of predictions that somebody put together. And the prediction is, in around 2020, a severe pneumonia-like illness will spread throughout the globe, attacking the lungs and the bronchial tubes and resisting all known treatments. Almost more baffling than the illness itself will be the fact that it will suddenly vanish as quickly as it arrived. Attack again 10 years later, and then disappear completely. Okay. So coronavirus connection there.
So it's gonna go away.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty soon.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
I don't know, man. I mean, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. I don't know a lot about sicknesses and stuff.
Right. Yeah. I'm gonna get on this, dude. This looks like an audiobook.
Ambush.
Yeah. It looks pretty cool.
Philip's post about Ambush. Listen to on Audible. Okay.
Chapter 46. Dude, you're pretty deep into that. Yeah. Chapter 46. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
9 minutes and 51 seconds remaining. That would be something, though, that you could just throw on and listen to all day at work.
Yeah, that sounds dope. Yeah.
I recommend listening to this podcast all day at work. But then whenever we're done, then you throw on Ambush.
Hell yeah. Nice.
Definitely.
So it says reminds him of the Bob Lazar story, although it's fiction. So cool. That's tight. Nice. What's next? Oh hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
The next post from Sonny is this this cock and balls in the sky. It's like a kite.
Oh, that's hilarious, man.
I love that. Like our posts from everybody in the group is like, some are very serious and like, hey, check this out. And then some, I mean, that's our humor though. I love it.
Yes.
It's very mixed.
Oh God.
You got to throw some humor in there every now and then.
A dick and balls.
Yeah.
It's a kite.
Great.
I love how like earlier our wives were in here. We were like, maybe we go through some Facebook stuff, and like the first post is a dick and balls.
Yes.
Oh God. That's great, man. That's great.
I like how the title or the quote is, it's like the bat signal for your mom. That's even better.
Oh man.
That's amazing.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's it for the Facebook stuff, man. It was pretty quick and easy, pretty simple.
Yeah.
I guess maybe we should get into this Terry Lovelace stuff, man. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Well, all right, guys. So we have got Mr. Terry Lovelace with us today, and I'm extremely excited about this. Terry, I have heard your story a couple times, and I'm about halfway through your book now, and your book is awesome. Incident at Devil's Den, man, it's probably one of my favorite reads in a while, to be honest with you. So I'm super glad that you were here. So I guess for everybody who is kind of new to you and to all this stuff, kind of just say hi to everybody and tell them what you're about, man.
Yeah, hi everyone. Glad to be here. Ben and Joe are the best.
All right.
Yeah, my name is Terry Lovelace. I'm a 65-year-old retired lawyer. I'm a former assistant attorney general for the U.S. territories of American Samoa and a former state's attorney for the state of Vermont. But I'm retired, and that's why I published Incident at Devil's Den. Had I published that during my legal career, it would not have gone well. So.
Yeah, Joe's holding up the book right now. So yeah, I mean, I can only imagine in that line of work, this topic is often kind of shunned in a way. So I sympathize with that.
Yeah, it is, and it's a shame that there are a couple professions like that. Academia is another one. I got a friend who's a history professor who is really, truly a psychic medium, and
sweet.
He's been a psychic medium all his life, but he waited until he was 62 to write a book and go public about it. He thought, he as a history professor, he thought he was going to get fired.
Oh no!
And
Man.
They ended up giving him a telling him to write the curriculum, and now he teaches a paranormal class at Citrus College in
Cool.
Glendora, California.
Oh, that's
His
awesome.
name is Dr. Bruce Solheim.
Right on. We'll have to look him up.
Damn, I'm gonna have to take his course.
Yeah, seriously. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, it is kind of a bummer, man, that in certain fields, when you talk about this subject, it's like an automatic dismissal of you as a person, your character, everything about you, and all the hard work you put in to become that person. And that's a real bummer for sure.
Yeah, but I think times are changing. I mean, I look at how many people attend conferences, and I just got into this in 2018, so I'm only 2 years next month. I've been into this, and I'm really happy. My book today received its 300th review.
Oh, right on.
Awesome.
So I'm delighted about that. 4.6 stars out of 5. So I'm real happy with it.
Congratulations, man. That's a huge achievement. Dang, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great book, man. Like I said, I'm about halfway through it, but man, this has been one of my favorite reads that I've done so far. And dealing with this stuff, I mean, we read stuff all the time, right? And man, you do such a good job, in the writing with the book, and just how I think one of my favorite parts is just the way you're able to convey what it's like to be a child having an experience and not being able to explain it to anybody, like that really kind of brings you back to your childhood and like maybe some experiences we've had personally as ourselves on like, I never thought about it, because it's always chalked off to just being an overactive imagination, right? But, as a child, there's no reason that a child can't experience something as well.
Absolutely. I didn't discount anything my children said. I was 8 years old when I first saw a UFO. I saw a flying saucer in my backyard, and I told my parents, and they were wigged out. They were like, Terry, I don't know what you saw, but I tell you, you did not see a flying saucer. And it was the 1960s. It was a different time, And they're like, look, you can't tell people that. They'll think there's something wrong with you. They'll think there's something wrong with us.
Right.
Bad reflection on the family. So, but yeah, times are changing for the better.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I could only imagine. I think one of the things that like I've taken from the book so far is, when you're talking about the monkeys in the room, right?
Yeah.
Man, that's got to be an insane experience. And then, that happening, your parents not understand what's going on, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh well, now I saw this UFO in the backyard. It had to have thrown them for a loop for sure.
Yeah.
That's incredible. What's that?
I hate to speak over you. I said if you'd like, I'd like to share with you guys and share with your audience. What happened to me and how I got here and why I wrote the book.
Yes,
absolutely.
That would be
We'd
great.
love that. We'd love that.
Yeah, in 2012, I retired early. I retired in January of 2012 from the state of Vermont. And about 10 months later, I'm living in Dallas now. And I got up one morning and I couldn't bear weight on my right leg. So I went to the hospital to get an x-ray. And I get on the x-ray table, and the x-ray tech takes a shot or a couple shots and comes out and looks perplexed and repeats it. And then she asked me, she says, have you been in an automobile accident or had a shrapnel wound or something that could account for a piece of metal in your leg? And I'm like, no, I've never injured this leg, other than a skinned knee when I was a kid. And she says, well, you got some strange stuff going on in your leg.
Wow.
And I said, can I see? And she says, well, I called the radiologist down. He's going to come down. He'll talk to you about it. So radiologist comes down, and he pops these two films up on the view box. And above my knee and to the right, there's what looks like it's just about the size of a fingernail. It's perfectly square with two wires coming out of it.
We've seen that photo, and it is very interesting.
Yeah.
And, he says, I don't know what this is, but this is a manufactured item. This isn't naturally occurring in your body. And he said, to get this object deep in your leg and into your fascia, they had to breach the integrity of your skin with an incision. And he says, you're going to have a scar right there. And I'm like, doctor, I don't have any scars. And he insisted I had to have, and examined my leg, and was really, really perplexed when he could not find a scar.
Yeah.
So no signs of an incision or anything like that.
Right. I asked him, I said, doctor, how often is it that you find a foreign object under the body at this depth without there being a corresponding scar?
Right.
And he said, never. Never. I've been a radiologist 23 years. I've never seen this before. And then he said,
spooky.
You got some stuff going on below your knee, too. And he popped the other one in, and there's an arrangement of what looks like marbles or Tic Tacs. They're small, but they're arranged in like a floral pattern or circle.
Yeah.
With a little dot in the middle. And he says, on X-ray film, these are about the consistency of bone tissue. But he says, I've never seen bone tissue just sprout in the middle of a muscle, much less arrange itself in a symmetrical form. He says, I have no idea what this is.
Wow.
So,
is that on the back of your calf, kind of?
Yeah. My calf muscles. Wow. It's still there. There was a guy there that was testing for implants.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you check that guy out?
Yeah. UFO Con. I did. I stopped, and he used some kind of instrument, and he says your calf muscle on your right leg is highly magnetic.
Wow. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So, obviously you already knew that there was something weird going on, so it kind of confirmed, number one, with your doctor, but also you knowing these foreign objects were there, but you had a third party confirm that there's definitely something in your leg. Not only is it just not a part of your body, but it's magnetic.
Yeah.
That's very strange.
Well, I really had no desire to write a book or interest in speaking about this stuff. I had resigned myself that, I have a bit of PTSD from 1977. But,
Sure.
I was resigned to live with that. But something about seeing those x-rays just really was like a wake-up call. It was like I had to face the fact that these things put their hands on me, And that was hard to process.
Right.
And that's when I became determined I was going to write about it and speak about it. And that's been a good thing. It was crazy as I was a runner for 40 years. And every time I do a run, I didn't run marathons, but I'd run 4 or 5 miles every day. But I ran about every day. And at the 2-mile mark in my run, give or take 50 yards, there was a spot on my right leg, by the knee, just above the knee and lateral, that would go completely numb.
Huh.
And it was a perfect circle. I could take a pin and delineate the edges of it. It was perfectly round, and it would stay numb, like a dentist shot of Novocaine in your mouth. It would stay numb for about 30 minutes and then wear off. And I asked my doctor about it. And she says, it just sounds like some kind of hystemic reaction, she called it. She says, it's probably nothing to worry about. So I didn't. And that was 1980.
Wow.
But then when I saw that x-ray, I realized that this thing that looks like a computer chip lays right underneath that spot that would go numb when I ran.
Wow.
So that told me that that's been with me since at least 1979.
Yeah.
Right.
And, probably 1977 when Toby and I were abducted.
So
Wow.
I want to hear. I would love to hear about that story if you want to tell it. So the abduction story. I was going to ask, how did this all start? Do you? Joe's read some of the book, and I've heard a little bit about your story, but I'd love to hear it from in your words.
Sure. Here's what happened. I was when I got out of high school, I joined the military. I joined the Air Force. And I was active duty from 1973 to 1979 for 6 years. And I was trained as a medic and an EMT. And I worked in the emergency room at Whiteman Air Force Base, which is just east of Kansas City. And it was in a remote area back then. It was a SAC base with B-52s and Minuteman II ICBM missiles scattered out in the soybean fields. Now it's the home to the B-2 bombers. That's where they're located.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
But the base is still there. So we work nights in the emergency room, driving an ambulance from 11 to 7 for whatever came up. And we're working one night, and my buddy says, about 2 o'clock in the morning, he says, "Hey, I got an idea. Let's go camping." And I'm like, "Are you nuts, man? We're city kids, Toby. I mean, I had never been camping in my life. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. He grew up in Flint, Michigan. And I'm like, what do we know about camping? I'd never given it a thought. And he says, no, think about it. It would be cool, because I just bought a new camera with some lenses, and I had a little black and white dark room set up in my house so I could develop black and white prints. But unfortunately, both of us lived on base in NCO housing. And when you live on a nuclear base, there just isn't a whole lot you can go out and photograph.
Right.
Right. Yeah, legally.
So, he made a good point. We'd make this trip down to Devil's Den State Park and find a piece of high ground, not stay in a campground, but find a piece of high ground. And he was an amateur astronomer and a math wizard. He was, and he wanted to go to University of Michigan, study physics for undergrad, and then get do graduate work in astronomy or cosmology. And I wanted to go to University of Michigan and go to law school, which I ultimately did. So we both had big plans. But this guy, I wish I could have asked him back in the day, where did this obsession with the sky come from?
Yeah.
Because he was obsessed with the night sky. I mean, he could point out the constellations and tell me when satellites were going to come over and stuff. It was amazing. He was a good guy.
Hey.
So Devil's Den State Park is a little over 6 hours drive south from Whiteman Air Force Base, depending on how fast you drive. And we piled in my old Chevy, and we'd never been camping, but it ain't rocket science.
Yeah.
You just make a fire and sleep on the ground.
Yeah, we were a couple of nerds, so we went about it, the nerd way. I mean, we made a list, went to the library, looked for books on camping.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Before Google. So we got a little tent, some air mattresses, swiped some blankets from the hospital, and military strength DEET, military strength sunscreen, and a cooler full of hot dogs, 1 6-pack of beer, and
only one?
Chips. Only one. Neither one of us were big drinkers.
Yeah.
That'd be enough for us. So we made the trip down, and we found. First of all, we dodged the park rangers. And we took a blacktop road that became a gravel road that became a dirt road. And then there was a chain across the road, a post on either side of the road, and a chain stretched across it with a sign that said, no admittance, no hiking, no camping, no fishing, no hunting, no trespassing, just a stern warning. And I said, man, I guess we got to find another way. Because we could see there was a hill. Yeah. Incline that we wanted to go camp on top of. And my buddy says, no, wait a minute. And he hops out of the car, and the chain across the road had a padlock on it. What they'd done is they just locked the chain on itself to make like a loop or a noose, and just draped it over the post.
Right.
So he gets up and just picks this up and lets it drop to the ground, and boom, we're in, the only mistake we made is we should have put the chain back up. But I'll explain that later. And
okay.
So we drove, and my friend, he really did have an unerring sense of direction. I mean, he's one of these guys that, you could spin him around, and he would take a minute and tell you which way is north. I mean, he could never get lost.
That's awesome.
And he guided me up this incline, make a right here, make a left there. And we crested this hill, and we were in this big open meadow. And it was just gorgeous. It was beautiful. It had, grass a little less than knee high and some late blooming wildflowers. And, we had, we were on a plateau with a nice view of the forest, all around us. It was just perfect spot, perfect for photography. He could watch the night sky without light pollution.
Wow.
And, it was a perfect place to camp.
That sounds awesome.
So we set up I think I sent you guys pictures. The place where we stayed.
Yeah.
I thought, I didn't look it up on Google Earth or even try.
Right.
I thought, that place has got to be covered with 40-year-old mature trees by now.
Uh-huh.
Right. Well, it's like a clearing from the photos that you sent us. It's
like a clearing.
Yeah.
And I had a guy off my Facebook page. I got an Incident at Devil's Den Facebook page. A guy from Alabama who's a landscaper sent me a message and said, hey, I do this for a living. I can tell you, I can see tractor marks. He says that field is cut.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like,
Yeah, it sure does.
Even from the Google map photo that you sent us, it does look like there's some type of tracks.
Yeah, so it's and there's no paved road. It's just got to be a tractor. It's just that dirt road. That dirt road is still there. There are some buildings there now that weren't there. Back in 1977, it was way out in the wilderness then.
Oh, interesting.
But I found out that it is actually, that land is actually not part of Devil's Den State Park. It's actually under the Bureau. It's owned by the federal government and managed by the Bureau of Land Management.
Whoa. So just that small little area, or the area surrounding it as well?
Some of the areas surrounding it,
Uh-huh.
but it's pretty much carved out to be around that place. If you go to Google Earth, it'll show you the yellow property line.
Right.
But it's carved out of Devil's Den.
Wow.
And it is federal land, and entry to there is restricted to this day.
Wow.
So it makes me wonder, why would the federal government, burn gas for 40 years to cut at the top of a plateau?
Right.
There's
Yeah,
something
In the middle of a forest.
Something fishy about that.
Yeah. So, back to us. This was June of 1977, and we set up our tent and, got out our air mattresses, and, we did all the fun stuff you do when you camp. And, built a big bonfire and burned some hot dogs and, had a beer apiece. And we're kicked back on these air mattresses. And I remember saying to my friend, I said, I can see the allure of this. I can see why people like this. This is pretty cool, And he has to gloat and say, "Yeah, I told you, this is nice," and it was nice. And we're talking, and we're just talking. And there came a lull in our conversation, and we kind of both got quiet. And I noticed that just like 15 minutes earlier, and this sounds so cliche. It's like straight out of a movie, but I swear to God that it's true. That the crickets, the tree frogs, all the noise of the forest had stopped. And it was absolutely, except for the crackling of our fire, it was dead silent.
Wow.
Yeah.
And even the breeze that we'd enjoyed just a little bit earlier had stopped.
Wow.
And it was just weirdly still, and it unnerved me. I was a little bit wigged out by it. And I asked my friend, like he'd know, I asked him, hey man, is this normal? It just feels really, really still out here, all of a sudden and quiet. And he kind of blows it off and says, yeah, well, we've been laughing and cutting up, but, they'll be back. The crickets, the tree frogs, they'll all come back. You just wait. No big deal. So, but it did. It bothered me. Had I been there by myself, I'd been in the car and out of there.
Right? Yeah. Because usually that means something like tornado.
Guy,
Yeah.
So I just kicked back and, we had some more conversation and we're talking and something gets his attention. and he turns his head to the left in mid-sentence. And he asked me, he says, "Hey, Terry, were those lights there before?" And I'm like, "What lights? What are you talking about, man?" And on the horizon, I could lean back and look in back of him and see on the horizon, actually just above the horizon, there was a perfect triangle of 3 little stars in a tight triangle. And they were too far above the horizon to have been lights like from a train or a parking lot or something. And they were stationary, and we watched them, and they didn't move. So and we knew that we didn't know of any aircraft that had that kind of light configuration. Besides, these things were static. And we're kicking around what this thing could be. And then it moves. And at first it rotates like it's on an axis and does a slow, about 3/4 turn, ending with the apex of the triangle pointing up. And then it starts to climb into the sky. And I'll tell you, it was a beautiful night. I mean, there were just a trillion stars out, not a cloud in the sky, and the starlight was bright enough to cast a small shadow. That's how bright it was.
Wow.
Just really cool.
Dang, that's awesome.
We could see this thing inside these 3 lights. It was jet black against a blue sky.
Right.
And as it climbed, of course, it went past fields of stars, and they would blank out and then blink back on as it passed.
Right.
So we knew it was one solid object and not 3 objects operating in unison.
Right. I think just for a second, I think a lot of people that live in the city don't really that have never seen the night sky in a truly like light polluted place, that the sky is actually just this deep purple, and there is a lot of light in the sky, even though it's just stars. So I'm just trying to I'm visualizing, and I've witnessed the stars like that a few times. But yeah, you would be able to tell the difference between a solid black object and then the night sky. Like for some people maybe listening, like, oh well, yeah, it was just how could you even tell? But you can, right? Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, it really was my first time camping and my first time looking at the night sky without light pollution, and it was amazing. It was beautiful, So, we watched this thing, and it got bigger. And, the points of light always remained equidistant to one another because it just got larger. And it climbed and hit like an altitude and then started to descend. And that's the first time I noticed. I felt this sense of calm wash over me, where I had been, kind of nervous about, the silence just,
right.
20 minutes earlier. Now I'm watching this thing, and my mood is totally inappropriate. I feel almost sedated. I'm just short of apathy.
Yeah.
And we're watching this thing, and the best way I can explain it is I felt more like an observer than a participant. It was a weird sensation.
Wow,
and as we watched this thing, it's tumbling in the sky. And it would go, it was kind of cool. It would go with the apex of the triangle, go down and then come back around. So we'd see 2 lights and then 3 lights and then see it come swing back up. And I remember having the feeling, this thing's moving with purpose. This thing isn't just tumbling through the sky.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that came from, but... And then once it reached the ceiling and started to descend, it was pretty obvious it was headed in our direction.
Oh, man.
What are these guys doing?
And it got bigger and bigger. And, there was very little conversation between the 2 of us while we're watching this thing.
Yeah.
My friend made some comment like, boy, it's really moving now or something like that. I don't recall if I even answered him.
Right.
And we were both in that same kind of dazed frame of mind. And we're just on these air mattresses watching this thing. And the closer it gets, the bigger it gets. And we saw it. We saw it move, drop low, and move across. Even with the lights on the apex of the triangle, we could still see a shadow on the forest below us,
Whoa.
Oh.
a black shadow.
Huh.
And it eventually came to a stop right over the meadow. And you can see that meadow from the Google Earth photo is kind of triangular shaped.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it slid right in there. I mean,
Whoa.
and we were camping just off to the side by the tree line.
Okay.
And this thing was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
I was going to
massive.
say, that's big.
It was like a Walmart, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, to this day, I can't understand how this thing wasn't seen in 5 counties,
Yeah.
you know, or how this thing wasn't seen by the people at the campgrounds that were just a couple miles away.
Right.
Do you recall any noise or anything coming out of it, or I mean,
Not at that time.
Yeah.
At that time, it was dead silent. Now, that would change later. But like I say, the thing's about 3,000 feet over our heads, about as tall as a 30-story office building over our heads. And it's just absolutely enormous. And while we're looking at this thing, from underneath, all we can see underneath is black. It's not illuminated in any way. Pardon me. And there came a light from the center of this thing, right in the middle and in the center. And it was a solid beam of light. It was like a cylinder of white light. Like if you ever seen a high power searchlight cut through fog,
yeah.
you can see a column of visible light. That's what this was like.
Whoa.
And it was about 6 inches in diameter, and it just bang popped on and landed square in the middle of our campfire.
Oh.
And I look at Toby, he looks at me, and we look at this thing, and you know, I was almost disinterested. I mean, I'm watching it, but I'm not reacting appropriately. I mean, you know, we should have been in the car and with the tires screaming and getting out of there.
Absolutely.
And you said you kind of felt like an observer rather than a participant. Like, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, we're both, you know, almost sedated, kicked back watching this thing.
Wow.
And that light stayed on in the middle of the campfire for about a minute, and then, you know, boom, turned off again. And then immediately after that, there came like a laser about the diameter of a pencil, kind of a bluish purple. It came from the same place, dead center of the craft over our heads. And this light or laser, and you know, lasers were kind of new in 1977. I'd seen them on television, but I'd never seen one for real.
Right.
And, you know, this laser would land in the middle of our campground and stay in a spot for like a tenth of a second and then reappear somewhere else.
Whoa.
So it would dance around, you know, all over the campground. Like 10 times a second, it would be here and then there and then here and then there. And, you know, I had the feeling, I'm like, man, this thing is scanning us. I mean, it's checking us out.
That's what it sounds like.
Telemetries.
And, you know, the light struck me in the chest a couple of times. I didn't feel anything. I know that the light hit my friend. It hit my car, it hit the tent. And it just kind of hit the whole campground. And that lasted for about 3 minutes. And then just like the other light, like someone flipped a switch, it's off. And
Wow.
We're sitting there, and it's still silent. And I suddenly felt like so tired. I mean, I felt not tired, but sleepy. All I wanted to do is sleep. And that's very unusual. I mean, we had been working the night shift for years. I mean, the night was ours. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Like it shouldn't have bothered you the way that it did, right?
No. You know, we were 22 years old. We were, you know, healthiest I've ever been. And, you know, I shouldn't have been sleepy. It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
And my friend said, I guess show's over. He picked up his air mattress and his blanket and threw it inside the tent and fell on top of it. And I followed suit. I was right after him. And I threw mine on the opposite side. And fell on top of it. And I remember I didn't take the time to take my boots off or my shirt off or anything. I just fell on this air mattress and boom, I was out.
Wow.
Whoa. That's
And I mean, I was just absolutely unconscious. I had 4 hours or so pass. You know, I had no dreams, no nothing, just black. And
Yeah.
That's really crazy
Then I-
because we hear like all these different like abduction experiences and things like that, and one of the common themes that seems to come up is either when they're put back or after the experience, like they end up going straight to sleep, like almost like it just makes them tired for some reason.
It's true. I mean, I think that they can control us. I mean, if they want to, I think they can.
Yeah.
Or send out some kind of vibration or frequency that makes you feel calm or sleepy, or gets those chemicals going in your brain. Somehow they're able to. I mean, yeah, that is in a sense controlling. But I'm
Yeah,
like
exactly.
trying to think of the science behind it.
It's not even like it almost like cuts into like what
Dopamine
you're
or something.
Yeah, absolutely. It just takes out the normal reaction. You know, seeing this thing and seeing the lights and then seeing a laser, which is something new that, you know, you've only seen on TV before, and to have that calm, cool, collected, almost disinterested, you know, type of mindset while this is going on is something to be said about the experience for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I woke up eventually, and that was unique because I woke up and I didn't have my wits about me. I was kind of confused. There were these green and yellow and white lights flashing in through the canvas of the tent, and these lights were bright. When they'd flash, they'd light up this tent, man, like a ballpark at night. I mean, it lit the thing up.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, I remember now. We're camping. And I thought these must be the overhead flashing lights of park rangers there to kick us out. That's what I thought they were.
Right.
And then I heard this noise, and it was, I describe it as a droning noise. What it was like is if you've ever stood next to a big piece of industrial machinery and it's making noise, the noise is more powerful than it is loud. You know, you can feel it reverberate in your chest. And that's what this was like, but it was a low bass hum. So, and I thought, you know, park ranger running a generator in the back of a truck, that doesn't make sense either.
Right.
And then I get to my elbows, and I realize I'm in pain. And I look down at my boots, and my boots are undone.
Huh.
And I thought, how did that happen? And I pull my boots off, my socks are on sideways. Now, one of the things they teach you in the military is to take care of your feet.
Yeah.
So, you know, I did. I would never have done that.
Yeah.
So I take the time, I put them on correctly, lace up my boots, and then once I got that done, I turned my attention to my friend, and he's on his knees and he's peeking out through his flap of the tent. In one of these flashes of white light, I can see he's got tracks of tears running down his side of his cheek. And I'm like, whoa. And that scared me. You know, when I saw that Toby had been crying, that really scared me. All of that disinterest and borderline apathy I felt, that was all gone. You know?
Man.
Kind of a wake up call.
Genuinely afraid. And I didn't know what was going on. And I asked my friend, you know, what is it, Toby? Is it park rangers? What's out there? And he said something to the effect of, keep your voice down, they're still out there. And I'm like, who's still out there?
Oh,
so I get to my knees and I pull back my flap of the tent just about an inch so I can peek out into this meadow, because these lights are still flashing. I don't know what to expect. And I noticed two things, and that is that this thing that had been 3,000 feet over our heads just, you know, 4 hours ago or so, had now descended. And instead of being 3,000 feet over our heads, it's now 30 feet over the meadow.
Oh, man.
on top of us. And that was the first thing I noticed. And the enormity of the thing really sunk in when it got that low. I could see that this thing was just monster,
Right.
huge. And I saw these kids. I saw what I thought were kids, like a dozen, maybe 15 of them, walking around the meadow. And they're all paired up in twos and threes. And I remember I asked my friend, I said, hey, Toby, man, what the hell are these kids doing out here in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night? And that's when he said, Terry, man, those ain't no little kids.
Oh,
Look
my
at them.
God.
They're not human. They're not human beings.
Dude.
And I looked, and he was right. They were not human beings. Their heads were disproportionately large. I mean, like the typical guys you see on TV.
Yeah.
Spindly bodies, thin limbs. And they walked with a distinctive gait. They walked like their feet were sore or something. They were almost limping. But they had a real distinctive walk. And there was a column of white light, like the one that hit our campfire. Only this one was about maybe 25 feet in diameter, and it was a column, perfectly circular. And it just, like somebody flipped a switch, this light came on. And as soon as this light came on, all of these little guys turned in that direction and headed for the light. And they were all paired up, but they were in different places. They all over around the meadow. And as they get to this light, they would walk into this beam of light and glow from the light for just a second and then just dissolve. And they were gone.
Wow.
And we watched this, pretty freaked out. We watched this go on, and until the last two were gone. And then that column of white light shut off. And that's when I noticed that humming noise, too, abruptly stopped. And the lights on the apex, on the points of the triangle, of course, we could only see two of them, where they had been green and yellow and white before, they switched to solid white. And we watched this thing take off. And I mean, it didn't take off like a rocket. I mean, it lifted off like a hot air balloon.
Oh, so kind of slowly ascending?
Slowly, deliberately, yep, straight up. And we watched it until it became three little dots of light. We watched it till it was a single point of light and then gone.
Wow. So, I got to unpack here because there's so much that just happened. I'm like, the way that you're telling it, I'm visualizing every moment, and it's very vivid. So
Yes.
So you guys are in this meadow, and this huge Walmart-sized ship shows up, weird lights, lasers, and then you go to sleep, wake up, and there's a bunch of kids walking around, and you literally see them being beamed up, like the movies,
Yeah.
Man, I mean, so after they get beamed up and you're witnessing this, like how I'm curious, like what was the time frame of when you noticed, hey, these are not humans, and like, did you guys talk or like, hit each other? Like, are you seeing this too? Or what was your...
We whispered a little bit back and forth.
Okay.
And my friend actually was starting to hyperventilate, and I focused for a second on helping him slow his breathing down.
Yeah.
And, but we were afraid to make any noise. We didn't know if they'd left somebody out. Somebody was still out there or what.
Right.
And, I never had a clear linear memory of what happened to us when they took us, but I just had flashes, bits and pieces.
Right.
And that's what I've been left with. And it's been, subject to my nightmares for 40 years.
I can't imagine. So it sounds like they were searching for something. Did you get that sense at all, or is this? It sounds like there was a lot of people out there, and it sounds like they were like doing a search party of some sort.
You know what? I didn't get that impression.
Okay.
I got the impression that they were just kind of enjoying the scenery, walking around.
All right.
Because I mean, I didn't see them looking down or looking at the ground like they were searching for something.
Right.
They were just paired up and just looking around.
Hey, well, they were enjoying the view as much as you guys were, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
So-
yeah. I mean,
So the time that you guys went to sleep to the time that y'all woke up and saw these things, were y'all taken during that time where you thought you were sleeping and then maybe put back and they were getting ready to leave?
we were, but that's exactly the scenario. Both of our watches, we had wind-up watches at the time. That's what we had, mechanical watches. Both of our watches had stopped at 2:40.
Whoa. Wow. Okay.
We were gone somewhere between 4 and 5 hours.
Whoa.
That's a long time.
And, we were so scared at this point. We watched this thing take off. And, I mean, I know it's just a piece of canvas over my head, but I felt like I had cover. I felt if I go outside the tent, I'm going to be vulnerable.
Right.
And, I still, to this day, don't feel comfortable walking across a large open space. Matter of fact, I'll walk a mile to get around it rather than cut across an open space, especially if I'm alone.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
Understandable.
yeah.
Very understandable.
Seriously.
So we sat there and for probably 30 minutes trying to pull our stuff together, And Toby says, "Look, man, we got to get out of here." He says, "Take your keys. I got a flashlight. Let's bolt for the car. Let's get in and get out of here." And, the thought of taking our cooler, his backpack, the tent, none of that mattered. We left it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We left everything. All we wanted was to put distance between us and that meadow. And we bolted for the car, got in, slammed the doors, and locked them. And he asked me, he says, "Are you sure we're good?" And I knew what he meant. And I turned on the dome light. I looked under the seats and in the back seat, and you looked around too. And because the car had been unlocked, and there was nothing in there with us. The car started right up, thankfully. And that's when I noticed, and I asked him, I said, "Man, find me something to drink. I'll drink anything if it's not poison." Because I was really, really thirsty. I mean, it was the most thirsty I'd ever been in my life. I find out later that we were both acutely dehydrated.
Yeah, that's similar to the Travis Walton kind of.
And Eric Mitchell.
Both of those guys experienced very extreme thirst and dehydration.
Yeah.
And we were both burned as well. We had what was like the worst sunburn you could have without blistering.
Oh, damn.
Whoa.
But I had it on the soles of my feet. I had it under my arms.
Whoa.
I mean, I had it everywhere.
Wow.
And it was painful. And what was more painful was when the sun finally came up. We're on 2-lane blacktop by this time, headed north. And as soon as the sun came up, man, my eyes could not take the sunlight. I mean, I had a set of cheap shades, but, it felt like I had sand in my eyes.
Wow.
And found out later that I had what they call arc welders burns or flash burns. What an arc welder would get if he didn't pull his mask down.
Right.
Basically, it's a sunburn to the cornea of your eyes.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And that's very painful. So we drove. I drove as fast as I could think I could get away with without getting us pulled over. And we made it back to base. We stopped and we got some soda and tried to quench our thirst. And I went through 6 cans of orange soda like nothing. My friend downs this gallon of grape drink. And whatever they did to me, they gave him a double dose because he was sick. He was curled up in a ball on the big bench seat of this Chevy, and just kind of hugging this bottle of grape drink to his chest.
Oh man!
Wow!
And we got back. We got on base, and We both lived in NCO housing, only a couple blocks from one another. And I dropped him off at his house. And I think all I said was, "See ya." And, he's got his flashlight in his hand. Then I drove a couple blocks down to my house, and I walk in the door. My wife's like, "Oh, you're back early." And she's like, looks at me and like, "Oh my God, what happened to you?"
Yeah.
And I told her the truth. I don't know, but what do we have to drink?
Yeah.
And she made some powdered lemonade, and I'm just pounding that stuff. I mean, I just cannot get enough. And she helps me get my boots off, and she puts her hand on my forehead, and she says, "Jesus, you're burning up." And she took my temperature, and I had 103 plus.
Oh.
So, I had terrible body aches, and I think that was probably contributed to it. So she gave me, a couple aspirin, and, I continued to drink water, and I got in the bathtub and in some cool water, and my temp came down to 101. And she says, "You got to go to the hospital." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. But, you got to realize that I worked in the hospital. Toby and I both did."
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the people there were our friends. Everybody there knew we were taking this big camping trip, and it was kind of embarrassing, but it was nice because medical people take care of their own,
Yeah.
So we were treated very well by the doctors and the nurses, especially.
Yeah.
And while I was in the emergency room, I had probably the most thorough medical exam I'd ever had in my life. And then the base commander, who I'd seen a couple times, never spoke to the guy, and the hospital commander, and two guys in civilian clothes, just not suits, just casual clothes that I didn't know, came into the emergency room and asked the doctor to excuse himself. So the doctor goes out of the room, shuts the door, and it's just me and these two officers and these two guys in civilian clothes. And the hospital commander speaks to me. He's the only guy that spoke to me. And we actually had despite the difference in rank, he was an officer, I was an enlisted guy. We had a great rapport. I mean, he was a good officer. He was a good guy. But he's very formal. And he says, "Sergeant Lovelace, sure to have no contact with Sergeant Tobias in any way, shape, or form. That means no speaking to him by phone, no visiting with him. If you run into him at the base exchange, you're to turn around and walk in the opposite direction. You're not to try to contact him through any third parties, pass him any notes. You're not to give him anything. He's not to give you anything. Do you understand me?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he says, "That's an order." I said, "Yes, sir, I understand." Well, I didn't understand.
Right. And this is your buddy, Toby, right? That's just Toby.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they ordered us to have no contact with one another.
Whoa.
That's weird.
And, this all goes back to what I think happened was that we didn't put that chain back up across the road. We left it down.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the park rangers saw that and then followed it and then found our little campsite.
Mm.
And Toby had his backpack there that had his name and his address, Whiteman Air Force Base, and his phone number. So park rangers, I found out later, had called the security police at the base and said, "Hey, it looks like two of your airmen are down here screwing around. They got a campsite set up. It looks like they're going to come back. We don't know what they're doing, but they're trespassing on the federal property."
Oh.
And I didn't believe it was federal property at the time. I didn't find that out until this Google Earth thing.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So, so I thought, what's the big deal? I'm in a state park. What's the big deal? But I'm in a hospital room, and I was in the hospital for 2 days, 3 nights, or 3 days, 2 nights. And on my last night there, my night nurse came in and was going to give me some pain meds and an injection, which was great because I needed it. And but when she came in, these two guys in blue suits followed her into my room. And the one guy, and I mean, these guys look like cops. I mean, I don't want to stereotype anybody. I mean, I was a prosecutor. I worked with police officers.
Right.
I respect them, but I mean, these guys were cops. I mean, there was just no mistaking them.
Sometimes you could tell, for sure.
Oh yeah, but shoulder holster. They got their suit coats unbuttoned, and you see their shoulder holsters, and they walk with kind of that swagger. And this guy was about 50, and he had this flat top haircut that like they wore in the 50s.
That's a giveaway right there.
Yeah, that's the giveaway.
The flat top.
It's like if Get on the Ground was a haircut.
Yeah.
Get on the ground.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, they showed me their identification, and they told the nurse, I don't know if I said this or not, they told the nurse that that's going to sedate Sergeant Lovelace is going to have to wait. And then he has to add, and shut the door on your way out.
Whoa.
So and I thought, whoa, there's no need for that.
That's aggressive.
Yeah.
So she leaves the room in a huff, and they've showed us, the nurse and me, they showed their badges, their credentials, and they were from the Office of Special Investigation, or OSI. That's the investigative branch of the Air Force's security police. It's like OSI is to the Air Force kind of what NCIS is to the Navy, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these guys, the guy that did all the talking was the guy with the flat top, the guy about 50. He was a major. His sidekick was a captain who didn't say much. And they pulled up chairs right beside my bed, and they cranked it was a crank bed, not an electric bed. Captain went to the end of the bed and cranked it up so I'm sitting in an upright position. And this major flips on the overhead lights. Now, they'd had the lights off in the room because my eyes hurt,
Right.
Yeah.
for my comfort. And I said, sir, that really hurts my eyes. Could you please turn those off? And he says, and you know what? I don't know if you guys have ever talked to Calvin Parker or not.
No, not yet. We'd love to.
Yeah, he's always a great guy.
Nice.
And he's got this Louisiana accent.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
very distinctive.
Yeah.
And this guy, kind of talks sideways, right? And
Yeah.
this guy had that same accent. And he says, "Can't work in the dark here, son. Got to see what we're doing." And I asked him. I said, "Sir, am I in some kind of trouble?" And he gets this big grin on his face, and he looks at the captain, and the captain laughs. And he says, "Son, would we be here if you weren't in trouble?"
Right.
Oh, man.
And I thought, oh, my God, what'd we do? We burn the forest down or something?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm scared. I mean, I've lived a pretty straight life. I'd never been in trouble with, of any kind. And, I was just scared to death. And he said, well, and his purpose there, I think, was to intimidate me. And he says, park rangers found your little campsite down there. And he says, that tells me you plan to come back. And he says, let me ask you, do you boys have a little marijuana plot going out there? Is that what this is all about?
Oh.
Now, but this is 1977. This is a different time.
Yeah.
I mean, that could have meant Leavenworth Penitentiary.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Loss of my stripes, loss of my pay, dishonorable discharge, ruin your life. And that really scared me because I thought, what if by happenstance somebody is growing marijuana out there and it, hang it on us?
Exactly.
So, but in retrospect, I think his purpose there was just to intimidate me. And he had that down to a science because I was certainly intimidated.
Right.
And he said, he laid out some forms on my tray table, and I'm sure, what are these? The lights are on, my eyes hurt, I can't read. He said, son, these are waiver and consent forms. These give us the right to take a look and to talk to you, and you can talk to us, and gives us the right to take a look in your house to see if you got any contraband, like marijuana. You don't have any marijuana in your house, do you, son? You got any marijuana in your car? You don't mind if we take a look, do you?
Jeez, man, what's the deal with that?
That guy was way off. I can't imagine
And
his
I'm like-
expression when you were like, no, it's actually alien.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, because I didn't. I'm like, no, I have nothing to hide in my house. He said, well, you had nothing to hide. You wouldn't mind giving us your consent, would you now? And he puts a pen in my hand. So under duress, I considered it duress. I signed and gave them consent to go to my house and scare the hell out of my poor wife.
Yeah.
And come in, and they looked through my photographs and all my prints. I think they wanted to see if I was photographing, nuclear sites or something. I don't know what they were thinking. Like I said, you can't take many pictures when you live on a military base with nukes. And
Right.
I had a telephoto lens, and I had taken some pictures of the full moon, just because I could, and I developed some prints. And they took those prints and the negatives of the full moon for some reason.
Huh.
It's weird. I never got them back.
Interesting.
Crazy.
So they wanted any kind of evidence that you were yeah. I mean, like part of my brain wants to say they were trying to see if you were some kind of spy, but the other part of me wants to say like they were wanting to know if you got a photo of ET's craft.
Right. This guy looks at the moon. Get him.
Yeah.
That's the real purpose of the exercise. They got done. They wind up their interrogation of me, and the captain leaves, and the nurse isn't in the room, and he makes sure my door is shut. And the head of my bed is right near the door, and he leans against the door with his hand on it so nobody can come in. And he gets down next to my ear, and he says, almost in a whisper, he says, "Son, I know, and you two knuckleheads stumbled onto something out there, didn't you?"
Oh my god! So he's trying to
and I didn't answer him.
Okay, so he's trying to put you in like a state of submission, like intimidation, and then now he's trying to get the truth out of you.
Yeah, he wants me to tell him I saw a UFO. I'm not about to do that because I know that if I do that, I risk ending up on a psych ward.
Right.
So I didn't answer the guy. And then he kind of changes, he kind of drops the tough guy affect from his face. And he says, I think you know what I'm talking about, don't you? And I still didn't answer him.
Wow.
And he says, "Son, all I want to know is, did you take any pictures of it? How many pictures did you take of it? And where's your camera and where's your film?"
Dang.
And I told him the truth. And the truth was, I was an amateur photographer. You know how it is when you got a hobby. I should have been out there photographing this thing from every angle, right?
Yeah.
Right.
The thought to photograph it never crossed my mind.
Yep.
Never crossed my mind. And it was a bit awkward anyway. I left my good camera at home. Now, Toby had a camera in his backpack, so we certainly could have taken pictures of the thing, but, neither one of us thought to do that.
Yeah.
And I've heard other people say that before, too. That,
Absolutely.
They saw something crazy and thought of taking a picture, never crossed their mind. So he knew. I don't know how he knew, but he knew.
Dang.
That kind of goes back to like how the whole area was kind of blocked off in the first place, and then you guys show up and then come to find out later on in life that's BLM property that's like run by the government. Like they probably knew that happens pretty often in that specific area, and seeing all y'all stuff there, they probably put two and two together and was like, oh, they probably ran into that craft.
Yeah.
And they ran away.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Well, I have a few memories from being on that craft. And one of the memories that I have is there were about 5 or 6, it's like 5 guys and a woman. And they were young. They were like us. They were 19 through maybe 22. I was 22 at the time. Toby was 23. And they were dressed in these weird, these tan-colored flight suits that I'd never seen before. And they had what looked to me to be standard issue combat boots on.
Whoa.
Huh.
They had military haircuts. And the woman was, I remember her well. She was kind of cute, actually. She was petite Latino gal with a ponytail, and these guys wouldn't look in our direction. They would not look at us, make eye contact with us. And I believe that they were members of the crew. I really do. Because the one guy, from my angle, I couldn't see what he was doing, but he was doing something to what looked like a panel on the wall.
Yeah.
Okay. So inside the craft, you're remembering humanoid people, like just like you and me, not
absolutely.
Okay.
Not, these weren't hybrids. These man, they look like human beings. I don't know if they came from this earth or not, but I think so. They had some kind of orange insignia, round orange insignia on their shoulders.
Yeah.
And they weren't close enough that I could get a glimpse of it and see I would love to have known what that patch said.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. So they had a distinctive outfit on, almost like some type of uniform. Obviously, they had combat boots. So I'm just trying to break it down in my head. Like, you hear, I've heard a few stories that, the military is working with these ET in certain drills, or sometimes they're actually military that's helping out ETs, or it's literally it's a screen menu, or not menu, but screen memory that they put in your head that you remember them as humans, but it was actually Greys or whatever
or whatever. Yeah because they can control our mind. No doubt about that. You know what I think there are three possibilities, and I think that we're either working shoulder to shoulder with them in some kind of agreement, or we're in just a flat out trading agreement, like a quid pro quo. They give us technology, and we give them the limited right to maybe take people now and then, or take cattle. I think of David Paulides and his Missing 411 series.
Yes.
Man, there's a lot of people who go missing from state and federal parks.
Yes.
Under really crazy circumstances.
And to try to get a list of missing people, like you have to pay them like $1 million or something.
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty expensive to get that list.
Yeah. He's going to speak at Eureka Springs. I don't know if you guys are planning on going or not.
Haven't heard of that one yet, but sounds interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, Eureka Springs is this will be their 33rd year. It'll be my first time going. I'm going to speak, and David Paulides will be there. So I'll get a chance to meet him. He doesn't return my email, so I can track the guy down and talk to him.
Yeah. So, do you think this is you like maybe had a type of like a My Labs experience, like with the military abduction type thing?
People ask me that a lot, and I don't know. I honest to God don't know. I know this, that for some reason or another, I mean, most people spend a whole life and never see a UFO. Never. And I've seen UFOs since I was 8.
Right.
And see them to this day.
Yeah.
So
do you think the experiences that maybe you had as a younger child were in some way preparing you maybe for this specific experience?
I think it's all connected in some way.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but it's all connected in some way. I had a guy from To the Stars Academy, the TTSA guys, Lou Elizondo, explained to me that some people are what they call targeted individuals.
Yeah.
And he said, you are a targeted individual.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're whoever is doing this is very interested in specific people, and you happen to be one of those specific people. Do you feel the sense of like maybe there's something in your DNA that it's like a lineage thing, or you think it's just random? What are your? I'm just curious.
I had no idea. I wonder if my dad may have been taken, because he had he tried to hide it, but he had a real interest in UFOs.
Okay.
I mean, whenever anything came on the TV, he had to listen to it. And one time in St. Louis back, I think I was about 15 or so, there was a news report about a UFO over the St. Louis area that was bottle-shaped and green and glowing green. And my dad grabs his binoculars and he goes outside, and he didn't see anything, but comes back in, and I'm like, so Dad, you think that's a flying saucer? I didn't use the word UFO. I thought flying saucer, right? And,
yeah.
He said, no, he says, that's something from the Russians. That's not from outer space. That's something from that was his answer for everything. But,
It's Russian.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think he believed that either.
Yeah. That's kind of a common theme through the beginning half of the book. Is like, your dad is seems like he's a little dismissive of it, but it definitely seems to like pique his interest enough to want to help you out with it, as opposed to just being like, yeah, it's an overactive imagination, go back to sleep. He deploys the tape, in your room, and then he takes you to the doctor, and it seems like he's definitely interested in what's happening to you, which kind of makes me wonder, he may have had this interest, maybe something did happen to him, or maybe it was your experiences that, kind of turned him on to the idea of like, well, I don't think my kid is crazy personally, but is he seeing something that I can't explain,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, his words to me, and I remember them, were, hey, look, you can't tell people you saw a UFO. If you do, they're going to think you're crazy. They're going to think there's something wrong with you. And then sure enough, he says, if you tell people you saw a flying saucer, they're going to think something's wrong with us.
Yeah.
And that was kind of that 1960s mentality of, the perfect family and harmony. And, it was a different time.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of the book is where you're talking about how your dad didn't understand what like running was, like how it was for, like he did a lot of military stuff, and like running was like, when it was time to be in danger, but like you were like, no, I run to stay in shape. He was like, why are you running? Oh, I thought that was interesting.
Well, you know what, that I thought about that too. It really, his question at the time wasn't as dumb as it sounds today. Because if you look through old photos, old motion pictures, you won't find anybody out running on the street unless they're running from something or unless they're running on an athletic field.
I've never thought about
really
that.
So really the concept of being out and running on the street, just for exercise, was a new idea.
Yeah, I wonder what they would, a person from that time period would think if they came to the current day and just saw people running all over the place. Like, what are they running from?
Yeah, right. I knew as a kid if I was running down the street, a cop would chase me.
Yeah, just because you were running, they'd probably start chasing you.
Why
right?
are you running, sir? Exercise?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So Terry, these implants that you have, are they both still in there?
The implant that was above my leg was taken out, not by doctors, but by ET. November 17th, 2017. I woke up and I had wounds on top of my leg, and my legs hurt, and I told my wife, I said, they came and they got that thing out of my leg last night.
Oh man, what?
And she says, well, you got to get an X-ray, find out. Now the things below my leg are still there.
Huh.
But the thing that was about the size of a fingernail, that's gone. They took that somehow, and I thought, well, where do I go to get an X-ray? Because, if you go to a standing radiology place, pardon me, they won't give you an X-ray on demand. I mean, you got to have a doctor's note. So I went to this chiropractor's office, right? And what I did was I took copies of my X-ray on copy paper. Because I knew, chiropractors look at 100 X-rays a week.
Yeah.
So I didn't have an appointment. I get there. This guy's like super busy. And I said, if you could squeeze me in, I'd be, really grateful. Tell the receptionist. And she says, all right, it's going to be a wait. So I wait like 45 minutes in the waiting room. And finally he calls me back and he says, okay, where do you hurt? And I said, well, I hurt at the top of my legs. But the real reason I'm here is I think that extraterrestrial beings came into my room night before last while I was asleep and took this implant out of my leg. And he thinks I'm crazy. You know? He's got me by the elbow and he's walking me toward the door.
Oh, man.
And I'm holding this piece of paper up in front of his face. And he stops in his tracks and looks at both of them. And he says, come with me. And he took me into his office and shut the door. Whoa. And, you know, his phone's ringing and people are knocking at the door. And he says, let me see your legs. And I showed him with the wounds that I had. And he says, tell me about these. And I gave him, like, the capsule version. You know, I was camping in 1977. I think that's when they put them. You know, I run, it goes numb at the 2-mile mark, the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, in 4 minutes. And he says, well, I'm going to write you a script for an X-ray. And he's told me where to go, gave me the piece of paper, said, I'll pay for it.
Oh,
Just don't use my name or the name of my clinic in your book. Because I told him I'm going to write a book about this.
Yeah.
And I gave him my word I wouldn't, and I've been true to my word. So I went and I got the X-ray, and I held it up to the light, and sure enough, that thing that was there was gone.
Whoa.
And he asked me to drop the X-rays off at his office so he could look at them. And I did. I just dropped them off. I didn't wait to see him. And he calls me up after dinner that evening and said, well, you saw your X-rays, right? And I said, yeah. There's nothing there anymore. And he says, well, they took out the thing by your knee, but he said they left something. He said they left 2 wires in your leg. There are 2 tiny wires parallel to one another, about 1/4 of an inch long, running parallel with your femur.
What?
And I didn't see those.
So
I got the X-rays back. I have possession of the X-rays now. And, you know, you hold it up to the light, you can see them a whole lot better. The picture didn't turn out so well in the book because it's grainy.
Right.
But on X-ray film, you can see it. It's very clear.
Yeah.
There are 2 wires in there. And I asked this doctor, I'm like, hey, you know, if these beings are so advanced, you know, if they're 500 rungs up the evolutionary ladder, how could they be so inept as to leave 2 wires in my leg?
Right.
And he said, I loved his answer. He said, they don't do anything by accident. I'm sure this guy was an experiencer.
Wow.
I'm absolutely confident.
So he was on your
Because
side.
they don't do anything by accident. He says, what they did is they gave you an upgrade. He says, that's the 2017 model of the 1977 model they pulled out of you.
Dude.
Yes. That's insane. So we were looking at pictures of vintage capacitors, and we found an image, and it's crazy, like how similar they look. It's like almost like a 2.5 millimeter square body with these long antennas off the top of it, and the coincidence of the way that it looks compared to like what's in your leg is astounding.
It's a square ceramic capacitor with the 2 terminals, you know, and it's like this photo that we're looking at. It's in comparison to a coin, and I mean this thing is tiny, which I think is kind of comparable. That was what was in your leg. Is very, I don't know. They just look really similar. I'm not saying it was the same thing, but I saw that. Sorry, go ahead.
That's a smart thing. What I kind of had the same thought is that, you know, did my government put this thing in my leg? If they did,
right.
I had a friend who worked for. I went to law school with the guy. He worked for Treasury for a while, and then he went to work for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And the BATF. I don't know if you guys ever heard of or recall the Lockerbie, Scotland bombing. The great big, humongous airplane full of people from the States had a bomb planted in it, and it blew up over Lockerbie, Scotland.
Oh, man.
And killed everybody. And the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms investigated the wreckage, and they found parts of a radio that had explosives residue on them.
Oh, wow.
So as as a direct result of that, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms has the most extensive database of electrical components anywhere in the world. I mean, if it's manufactured to go on a motherboard or in a radio somewhere, they're going to have a picture of it.
Okay.
So I told him, I said, I'm going to send you this. Can you look it up for me and tell me, if it's in your database? And it's not.
Whoa.
Huh.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, either it's a dark government program that, creates these capacitors or whatever it is, or it's ET. And it's a similar design, right? Like, it could be one or the other.
Yeah, and I thought maybe it's made intentionally to look like something man-made. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that would be the best way to conceal it. The only thing I can think of is that, this design, like the capacitor, it's kind of like a tiny little battery. So it would have to be attached to something. It's like, it's not...
Well, your body, I mean, your body is constantly sending electrical signals throughout your body. It's like its own little battery, basically.
Right,
So,
yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you be able to run maybe a tiny little piece of equipment off of your own body's electrical signal?
And it would have to be very small, so that
Yeah.
makes sense with the size of this thing. I mean, we're just Dr. Scientists. We don't know what we're talking about. But man, that is.
Yeah.
I'm just we're just looking through that photo, and we'll post that for those listening. We're gonna post these. As long as that's okay, Terry, for us to post these photos that we're looking at.
Absolutely. Please share them with your
Awesome.
with your audience. I
Awesome.
think they'd appreciate them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Listening to Lorian Fenton's show, I've heard you on her show as well. She's talked about how maybe these implants are now being upgraded to a more like organic type of maybe like biotech of some sort. How like a lot of this stuff is metal, but the new ones that are being implanted in people are a little more undetectable.
Yeah. I would assume that their technology, advances at a rate probably exponentially higher than ours.
Right.
And I look at the advancements that we've made since the 1960s, and I'm sure that they upgrade their equipment now
Yeah.
and then too.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what about the one in the back of your leg? Do you have any plans for that? Do you plan on leaving it? Does it bother you? Or, I mean...
The ones in my calf muscle, I'm told by a couple radiologists that it does look like bone tissue.
Huh.
And they said that they could take it out, but I'd probably, have a messed up leg afterward.
Huh.
Because where they take it out, that's going to leave a big hole. It's going to have to heal.
Right.
And they tell me that it's likely if they took them out, it's just going to be bone tissue.
Man.
Interesting.
Magnetic bone tissue, but bone tissue.
Right.
Right, yeah.
That's where I was gonna ask next. Was what about the magnetic part of it though? I mean, that's pretty interesting. I mean, huh?
That is wild. Yeah, we're looking at the photo right now, and the flower pattern is super interesting. Man, that doesn't look natural. I don't know.
No,
it should not. It should not be in your leg. But so I'm looking through these other photos. So I think the most compelling one, I want to ask you about this. Your screen capture of your phone says it's Tuesday the 16th, 2019, and it says flights climbed, and it says 6 floors at 5:24 a.m. Can you explain that a little bit?
I sure can. I think they took me that night. I'll tell you what happened is I woke up at 5:55 a.m., absolutely out of breath. My blood pressure was like 220 over 110. My pulse was tachycardic, like 150 or something.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking I'm having a heart attack, right? And I woke up from a sound sleep like this. So I told my wife, I said, call an ambulance. I think I'm having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And he took me to the hospital, and I've had a heart attack before, so I know the drill.
Right.
Chest X-ray, cardiac enzymes, your chest X-ray, and so they do all the tests on me, and they say, you're fine. And by the time I get to the hospital, my pulse is down, my blood pressure's down, and I'm back to normal. Now, I should qualify this and tell you that I sleep with a T-shirt on with a pocket because and headphones because I can't hear noises at night. If I hear a noise at night, I freak out. I get up with a flashlight and a pistol, and I got to search the whole house.
Right. I
would do the same thing, man. I mean,
so I sleep with these headphones on, and I listen to 432 hertz music or some type of meditation type of recording.
Yeah.
And that's what I sleep with. So that evening when I got home, I told my wife I'm going to go out because I try to walk 1.5 miles a day for keep me somewhat healthy. And I told her about 7:30 after dinner. I said I'm going to go out and do a quick mile walk, and then I'll be back. And I pulled my phone out and I turned on my health app, which I hadn't even looked at yet. And I looked at my health app, and the first thing I noticed is, I'd taken like 24 steps the entire day because I spent the whole day in the hospital.
Right.
And then I saw the red bar for stairs. Now, I never see stairs on my phone. I mean, I lived in a ranch house with no stairs, no basement. And I saw 6 flights of stairs, and then I saw the time, 5:24 a.m.
Whoa.
5:24 a.m., to the best of my knowledge, I was asleep in bed.
Yeah.
When I got back and woke up at 5:55 out of breath, my earbuds were on my chest, and my phone had been unplugged from the wall, because the battery's bad.
Dude.
So, but it never occurred to me until I saw that. And I took it to T-Mobile, and I asked the guy, I said, can you explain this to me? Because normally if I climb 6 flights of stairs, the X-axis on the left indicates height. Each of those little boxes represents 10 feet in height. And then the Y-axis on the bottom, as it goes from left to right, indicates passage of time. So it would take me a couple minutes to walk a big flight of stairs, and then another couple minutes. So I would get like a stair step type effect as time passed and I walked upstairs.
Right, yeah.
And the guy says, you walk 6 flights of stairs between 5:23 and 5:24 a.m.
Oh,
so like immediate. So
and then
straight up.
How does that measure? He says, by changing barometric pressure. He says, I doubt you could climb 6 flights of stairs in under a minute. And he says, I don't think I could do it. But he said, it looks to me like you were 60 feet over your house at 5:24 a.m.
Whoa.
Oh my God.
That's insane.
Oh, that's crazy, dude. That is intense. And just seeing like the proof right in front of me. I mean,
yeah.
The stories are already awesome, but like seeing your screen captures are.
Can you imagine being the T-Mobile guy?
Yeah, right.
What a day he had.
Yeah.
The T-Mobile guy was pretty wigged out. Now, I took it to Apple, and the lady at Apple said, it's probably something wrong with the phone. I'll run a diagnostic for you. Can you leave it? And I'm like, sure, I'll leave it with you. She says, come back after 4. I'll have it ready for you. And because I was going to say, this is a warranty issue. If this, if this thing has a problem, I want it fixed. But you know what? I knew there wasn't anything wrong with the phone. I really did. I knew that.
Yeah.
Because it was just too coincidental that it would tie in with my, believing that I'm having a heart attack. It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
So I go back and I pick up my phone, and the lady says, I can't find any defect in your phone. None whatsoever. Ooh. There's nothing to fix.
So it's not your phone.
No, not my phone. and I said, could I get that in writing, please? And again, she says, well, that's a warranty issue. And she says, that's an issue we wouldn't want to get involved in because she says, who's to say you didn't put your phone on a drone and send it 60 feet up in the air?
Right.
Okay.
It's proof, but it's only anecdotal proof.
Right.
You know,
It's like, yeah, because I have nothing better to do at 5:24 a.m.
yeah.
than to hook my iPhone to a drone, fly 6 stories above my house.
And then drop $800 on an ambulance ride and an ER visit. Yeah,
Exactly.
Right. And you included that photo as well. So yeah, it's all right here. So man, as far as proof goes, you got the paperwork to back it up. So man, that's just just hearing you talk about it. I mean, I don't know. It's so it seems like these incidences just kind of started picking up, in 2019, and then this. So it's your first incident started in the 70s, and then did it just start to pick up recently, or has it kind of been a steady stream?
No, it kicked up whenever I wrote the book.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Next month, March 10th. Well, no, in 2 days. 2 days, my book will have been on Amazon for 2 years.
Okay.
And, within about 60 days after I put the book on the market, strange things started to happen. Tom DeLonge calls me up on the phone, with Lou Elizondo and the other guys from To the Stars Academy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wanting to talk to me about my implant. And then about a month after that, I start getting these helicopters. And this sounds cliche too, but man, I showed some slides of it in my talk at San Francisco for the first time.
Yeah.
Right.
I've got pictures of 189 helicopters that flew over my house. I got them broke down by make, model, and month.
Damn.
And
Really?
there were military helicopters, Robertson R-44, Robertson R-22s, and Airbus 350s that the Texas State Police use. But these were all painted black and white, no markings on them whatsoever. The pilots, they would sometimes get close enough I could see inside. The pilots wore white helmets. Now that's interesting because I have a friend, my friend who I mentioned earlier, actually, the guy that teaches teaches history as a history professor. He was in the Army. He was a helicopter pilot in the Army, and his wife is a flight instructor.
Okay.
Helicopter flight instructor. So I sent him. I said, "Look, I got these helicopters buzzing my house. Can you check these photos out and tell me who these guys are?" And I sent him the helicopters. He looked at them, broke them down for me as far as make and model, and identified that most of them had some kind of weird light anomaly, like a weird searchlight thing attached to them.
Okay.
And that was part of my slideshow. And he said it doesn't belong on the aircraft.
Interesting.
And he also made the observation that civilian pilots do not wear helmets. They consider it to be a hazard because it, interferes with their view.
Huh.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
But military pilots are required to wear helmets.
That is very interesting. So it has to be, a military thing.
It was, yeah. Well, it's obviously military because none of these helicopters had markings on them of any kind. Not a single, not a number, not a letter, nothing. And they're supposed to. I looked up the law. There's codified Federal Regulation 45 says you got to display a large, the alphabetical symbol N, like Nancy,
Right.
followed by a string of letters that identify that particular craft.
Yeah.
And there's nothing on these helicopters, nothing.
Wow.
And then when I'm blowing up the helicopters, trying to find identification marks on them, then I'm finding UFOs in the background.
Yep.
Yeah.
The one I'm looking at that's pretty
But
compelling,
I think
my
I
friend.
sent you one.
Yes, you did. Yeah, we're looking at it right now, and it's pretty. It's pretty out there. It's right there. Yeah, it's funny when you start looking at it in detail, and then you see a UFO. So I'm just curious. All types of things are going through my head, but do you think the UFO was just hanging out and kind of watching you, and then the helicopter showed up, or did the helicopter show up to?
It's crazy. They were on a schedule. I swear to God.
Man.
They came during the week 3 or 4 times a week. I mean, and at first it was kind of funny. It was kind of a joke, but, it kind of wore us down. It really did.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And, at this time of the morning, to go out and photograph them, I had a big tree in front of my house, and I would have the morning sun right next to it. So my field of view was really limited to 180 degrees. And these helicopters would come, they would buzz my house, do donuts around my house. And then, like I say, I don't know if the UFOs were chasing the helicopters or the helicopters were chasing the UFOs.
Right.
Or if they were there on a joint mission, I don't know.
Yeah. So, were all these helicopter incidences during the day, or were there some at night that took place?
There were only 2 at night.
Okay.
There were only 2 at night.
So,
and
I have a question about that. So the ones at night, did the helicopters have the flashing lights, or did they have any kind of lights on it? Like there's a FFA.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, they did. Okay.
FAA ruled that they have to have the flashing red light.
Okay. So they definitely did.
This had a flashing red light underneath, and it had a flashing light that I think was white on the tail.
Okay.
And it also had this what Dr. Bruce calls a light anomaly. It also had this large, maybe 2-foot wide disc that was just slightly illuminated, just slightly glowing, attached to the underneath of the thing.
Wow.
So
creepy.
Yeah, we saw that twice, like around midnight.
Oh.
But it was low over our house.
And so obviously you could feel it and hear it and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 I'm just, this is just something random about some of my experiences, but me and my wife have both witnessed helicopters in the Austin area at night with no lights, but no flashing lights, but one single red light in the front, and it's just this, you can hear it. It's a helicopter, obviously. It wasn't over our house; it was like in the city. But there's something going on with helicopters that don't have to have that flashing light, which tells me it's probably something military, or that's what I was curious to ask you about the flashing light.
I looked up the law. I went as far as to call the FAA, and they're like, look, if they are government, he didn't use the word military. He said if they are government, they're exempt from the FAA reg.
And that can mean anything, like any program, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
They could say like it's the Parks and Recreation Department.
Yeah. That's government.
Yep. Yeah, that's insane. So I think, like, as you were saying, it is kind of a different time now. You've been contacted by TTSA, Lou Elizondo, and all these guys. So other than your encounter when you were in the hospital after your Devil's Den incident, you've had these, what we assume to be military helicopters flying around your house. Have any other, like, organizations, military-wise, or maybe, like, secret military-wise, like, try to contact you about this other than, like, TTSA and these helicopters?
No.
Nobody
from the government's contacted me. Now, I did have an odd experience in my old neighborhood. We sold our home. I was home I liked and intended to stay in. We sold our home and moved. And the first morning in our new house, right, 9 o'clock straight up, I hear thump, 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 thump. And my wife wakes up and she's like, oh, no. And I'm like, yeah. And I run outside, and there is 400 feet over our house, there's this huge olive drab helicopter. And it sees me come out the door, with my camera in my hand, and it peels off to the right. And it was just kind of like, yeah, we know where you're at.
We got you.
I think that was the message. Yeah, we know where you're at.
Damn, man.
So they don't even need to make direct contact. They know where you're at already.
Yeah.
And, like, TTSA is kind of just like this, almost like a front for the people behind the curtain, like they do the interviews, they do the contact, they help people with whatever they need help with. That's really interesting, actually.
I'm curious, Terry, if so in your experience, what was it? You spoke of a phone call that you had with Lou Elizondo. And we've heard, through the grapevine that they've actually come out and talked to people in person and done tests on some of, some people's implants. Have they scheduled anything?
They did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, Lou was at my house June of last year.
Oh, okay.
And spent 2 days. And coincidentally, A&E with Lou Elizondo was supposed to be here Wednesday of this week.
Oh, wow.
Coming up.
Awesome.
And they canceled on Friday because A&E has a policy about, travel with the coronavirus.
Right.
They're coming from Los Angeles. So they said, well, we're going to postpone it, but we promise you we'll reschedule. So,
Well, good.
Yeah, that's good.
I was thinking maybe they found out you were coming on our podcast and they were like, we'll just get all the information from UFO Garage guys.
Yeah. They did warn me about Joe. They did say that.
Oh, yeah.
warned you about it.
Good. Oh, man, that's awesome. That's
Nothing
awesome.
bad to say about Ben.
That's right. Yeah, he's a pretty squared up guy, you know?
There you go.
He's real nice. I can be a little bit of a troublemaker sometimes. That's good, man.
Well, hey, I'm going to let you guys go if I can. My wife has made me dinner.
Yeah, absolutely, brother.
Oh,
I'm going to go eat.
that
Hey.
sounds good, man. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to speak with you, man. One of your story has kind of been one of my favorites up to now. We're kind of the same in the fact that we kind of both just entered this arena of the UFO field a little bit, and I mean it's incredible that we're getting to talk to you, man, because it's like I said, it's been one of my favorite stories so far, and I really enjoyed it. Do you have anything that you would like to plug? Your website, your book, all that stuff before you go?
You know what? Yeah, I would like to tell your listeners if they'd like to read my book. It's Incident at Devil's Den. It's on Amazon, and it's available in a cheap Kindle version or paperback that has the photographs in it and the X-rays. Or there's an audiobook that I did. I was told to get a voice artist, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to tell a story myself.
Good.
Awesome.
I love that
Done
you
in
did
my
that.
own voice.
That's awesome.
So yeah, look it up, and people are going to be staying home more, so get something to read.
That's right.
a good
That's
point,
right.
yeah.
And where are you going to be speaking at next? You have another conference coming up soon?
Yeah, I do. Ozark Publishing has. This is the one that David Paulides is going to be in.
Cool.
Eureka Springs, Arkansas, April 9th through 12th. I'll be down there and speaking, and I'll have some books with me, and happy to, talk to anybody, answer any questions. Love to hear your stories. If you're there and you want to come by, please do.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome, man.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, man. And this has been this is my new favorite story of all time now. So thank you so much for being on the show, man.
That's my favorite podcast.
All right.
Yeah.
You guys are the best.
Great.
Hey, thanks so much.
All right.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Whoa.
Wow.
Dude, yeah. I mean, every time we finish a conversation with somebody, I know like our reactions are kind of probably the same.
Every time
but
it's gonna be
dude,
the
like
same.
every single one that we do is just more and more like mind blowing.
Yeah. Every time it's like, dude.
What?
So I mean, you met Terry at UFOCon. I had
Yeah.
no idea who he was. You were really fascinated in the story, and I hadn't heard it, and I felt kind of bad, like, hey, give me the cliff notes.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you didn't divulge too much information, because hearing it for the first time was really awesome from the the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
awesome, dude.
It's a great story.
And there's
man.
more to it too.
Yeah.
And we didn't even. We scratched the surface. We got pretty deep in there, but there's more.
Yeah, there's more.
Yeah.
And it's continuously happening.
Yeah.
So he's somebody that we can definitely have on the show again, and just kind of stay updated with him, because it seems to be happening still. I mean, we got one in 2019, April of 2019.
Right.
Dude.
I'm just so glad we got to even have him on the show, man. Like,
Yeah.
we got to talk to this guy. Like, that's really cool.
It is super cool.
Yeah, I would love to keep in touch with him and get updated. That'd be awesome.
Definitely. And once again, guys, if y'all haven't checked it out yet, definitely check it out. Incident at Devil's Den. Dude, it's been a great read. It's been something that it's kept me interested. Like I was telling you, man, a lot of times when I read stuff, I'm reading it for like, it seems like it's like I'm reading, but I'm just like putting information in my head. But this has been like a story that like puts you like in the place, like even him like telling the story, he was really good at telling stories. And I feel like he portrays that really well, like in the book. Like very rarely do I read a book and I get like the creeps, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, he's got a very interesting story, even stuff that happened to him when he was younger that we didn't really get into on the podcast. But if you want to know about that, listen to his audiobook, maybe pick up the book. You won't regret it. It's really, really awesome.
Yeah.
So,
man, that was awesome, dude.
Yeah, it was great. It was great, dude. Yep.
Well, sweet, dude. Do we have anybody that we can plug that's coming up next that we can think of? Oh, sorry. I can't remember.
Yeah.
If we have...
So, we had Vivian on.
Oh, that's
right.
Yeah.
We had Vivian on. So this Thursday we're going to be having her fiance Peter on, and he's the guy who makes the actual necklaces that I was wearing in that video. And so we're going to be talking to him. I mean, other than him making the necklaces and being in contact with the Archangel Metatron, right? That's really all I know. So I'm really interested to talk to him and kind of see, how this happened to him, man. That's going to be an interesting story. So I'm super stoked to have him on.
Yeah.
And get to talk to him. And yeah.
That's going to be awesome. I mean, they're just, both of those people were super chill and awesome, like good vibes. So I'm excited to talk to them again.
They absolutely were.
Yeah.
They absolutely were, man. So yeah, we'll get some of these images that Terry sent us up on the, maybe we can do the site and we can do Facebook.
Yeah. And I'll do the YouTube video. I'll splice in the images too.
Definitely. Yeah. So it'll also be up on YouTube. Guys, don't forget to go check out Abduction 51 and go check out the threads.
Got some shirts, baby,
from across the pond. And also don't forget to go check out Phoenix Shaving at phoenixshaving.com. They've got all your facial hair and shaving needs. Yeah, man.
I need to shave back.
Yeah, you need to shave?
Neck beard going on, dude.
It's a neck beard.
Yeah, bro.
Well, that's why if you grow like a real beard, then
I can't grow a real beard.
then you can hide the neck beard.
I can't even grow sideburns.
I'll be honest with you, dude. I may like trim up and shave like once every 2 months.
Yeah.
Which is kind of ridiculous.
Your neck?
Yeah.
Shave? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I never see your neck. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I just honestly never think about it. But
with Phoenix Shaving, you can get a nice clean shave.
Oh yeah. One thing that does get used all the time is my beard cream, my beard oil, and my beard soaps.
Cramps and lashes. That was Jack Black. He does an episode about cramps and lashes.
That's great, man. And most importantly, don't forget to check out UFO Garage, PC.com.
We've got some new shirts.
Bro, you made a V-neck.
I made a V-neck.
Bro, you made a V-neck. I don't know if you guys know this, but this fool's neck is so sensitive.
It is.
He's got to wear V-neck sometimes.
That's true. It's a very, very sensitive neck.
That's right. He doesn't shave.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, man.
We got that one and the one you were wearing on the last episode.
Yeah, so and now you changed it, though, right? To the Impala across the front with UFO Garage.
I made another one. So there's two V-necks now.
Jesus.
Yeah. So the second one, it shows up on the website. It's the black V-neck, and on the back it's really big, the Impala, and then the logo. And there's nothing on the front because I don't like shit on the front usually of my shirts that I wear.
Right.
So I wanted a blank shirt, but with like represent on the back.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome, man. That sounds good. Dude, it's about to be summertime, so we might have to bring the tank tops back.
Oh shit! Because we sold so many of our band tank tops that one time.
Well, we did have a tank top on the old one that you had made.
Oh, that's right.
So we should throw that back up on there again because summertime's right around the corner.
Hell yeah.
And we know sometimes rocking a hoodie or a t-shirt can get a little warm in the summertime, depending on where you are. I know down here in Texas, dude.
A little sweaty.
Yeah, you get a little sweaty. So yeah, dude, we'll throw those back up there for you guys.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, you can find all the episodes, all of our affiliates, and pictures of our pretty faces, and also pictures that have been, given to us by like our guests and stuff. So definitely go check those out on the website, UFOGaragePC.com.
Hell yeah. Hey, and if you guys have a story, anybody listening out there that's had an experience, feel free to email us at UFOGaragePC@gmail.com. Because, man, we're always looking for awesome stories. We've had a few people reach out on Facebook on the group. We've got the UFO Garage podcast group.
Yep.
And, everybody's talking back and forth about their own experiences or just posting funny photos.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
if you guys that are listening out there, if y'all have an experience or know somebody in your town that's had an experience and want to share it, email us, because that's what this podcast is all about, is sharing these stories. So,
I would definitely like to contact maybe some of our listeners. Like I know Create's been posting some stuff.
Yeah.
Dakota's posted some things.
Right, I want to talk to her too. Yeah.
Chris had reached out to us
Yep.
and was talking about wanting to maybe talk about his experience.
Yeah.
So we'd love to get you guys on,
Yeah.
and talk to y'all, because that's why we do this in the first place. It's not always about the big speakers and stuff, but there's just regular everyday people just like us who have these experiences, and we want everybody to know about it if you want people to know about it. So definitely hit us up and let us know, right?
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, you done?
What's
Another episode of UFO Garage. Talk to you next time.
Goodbye.